Part 41. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 401. Qin Sen came out of Qin's house angrily and immediately went to find Mr. Qin. Their plan failed. Ms. Qin would rather let them leave than give them the shares. Her partial behavior made Qin Sen hate her to the core. Old lady, I think it is a good idea to threaten Qin Lu with the old lady. Qin Sen had no feelings for Qin Lu and Ms. Qin for a long time. All he had was hatred, and his tone of voice was vicious and resentful. Are you crazy? Old Ms. Qin's expression changed. He didn't expect Qin Sen to say such a thing. He really couldn't bear to see Qin Lu and Ms. Qin controlling the inside and outside of the Qin family. But he just wanted to be a carefree rice insect and never thought about what he would do to them. Qin Sen's words are extremely treasonous. Old master, I was confused by anger. Just listen to the nonsense I uttered in anger. Why don't you let me have fun talking about it? Qin Sen changed his tone and explained to Mr. Qin sarcastically. You shouldn't say such things. If outsiders hear it, you have to have someone poke your spine and scold you to death. You are not allowed to say it again, you know. Qin Sen quickly agreed, yes, don't worry, I will never dare to say anything again. When he came out of old Ms. Qin's place, his expression became ferocious. Damn old woman, she did this to me, I must make her regret it. Song Wanrong asked softly, husband, what do you want to do? Qin Sen snorted coldly, I am her biological son. I have been with her in the imperial capital for so many years. This Qin family must belong to me. You go back and pack some luggage, and we will go to country F. He did not reveal his thoughts this time. Although Song Wanrong was his wife, women were prone to gossiping about this kind of thing, so he had no intention of telling her. Hashtag Qin family. After solving the problem of Mr. Qin Sen coming to bother the old lady, after the grandfather and grandson finished eating, Nan Yan made a call to Qin Lu. When asked if he had lunch yet, Nan Yan asked him to wait for her while she went to deliver the food. The kitchen quickly prepared some easy-to-make meals, packed them up, and asked Nan Yan to take them away. The last time Nan Yan came, the lady at the front desk was notified that she would be allowed to go directly without any notification when she comes again in the future. Moreover, Nan Yan's photo has been circulated in the internal group. Everyone knows that this Miss Nan is their boss Qin's sweetheart. The future young lady. Who dares to offend? Therefore, when Nan Yan came in, the front desk quickly notified the secretary office and told them that Miss Nan was here. Ms. Nan, you're here to see Mr. Qin, the front desk lady said with a flattering smile. Assistant Wu will come down to pick you up soon. Nan Yan, no need, I can go up by myself. She has already been here once and knows where Qin Lu's office is, so she doesn't need anyone else to show her the way. Oh, then you can take Mr. Qin's dedicated elevator. This is the identification card. Qin Lu asked Wu Yu to get the identification card and put it at the front desk. Just waiting for Nan Yan to use his elevator directly if he comes again. Nan Yan took the identification card from the front desk lady, then took out a lollipop from his pocket and put it in her hand. Thanks. You're welcome. The lady at the front desk was flattered and held the lollipop directly in the palm of her hand. Miss Nan is so gentle, beautiful, and flirtatious. Wu Yu received a notice from the secretary's office. After knowing that Nan Yan was coming, he quickly went to notify Qin Lu. He quickly walked to Qin Lu, who was having a meeting in the office, lowered his head and whispered, Master, Miss Nan is here and has already gone upstairs. The meeting is suspended for now. Qin Lu explained calmly, then stood up and left the conference room. The company executives who were left in the conference room looked at each other in confusion. It turns out that Mr. Qin's principles can be broken at will in front of Miss Nan. This discovery made everyone more curious about Nan Yan. Almost none of them had ever seen Nan Yan in person. They only knew her by name and had no idea who she was. But the one who can accept their boss Qin is definitely not a mortal. Assistant Wu, should we continue to wait for Mr. Qin here, or should we go back to our respective posts first? This question is a bit difficult for Wu Yu. He thought for a moment and said, everyone, please go back to your respective posts first. When Mr. Qin is done with his work, I will notify you to come back and continue the meeting. The people in the office looked at each other again. Then, withdraw. Hashtag. Nan Yan carried the lunchbox and walked slowly to Qin Lu's office. Button. The office door was opened. Qin Lu's eyes were deep, looking at the little girl who had been gone for nearly a week. The little girl raised her little face and shook the lunchbox in her hand with a sweet smile. Brother, the meal is here. The cute and delicate appearance made a man who wanted to do something intimate bite the tip of his tongue, restrain his impulse, and move away from the door. Come in. Putting away the documents on the desk, Nan Yan opened the lunchbox and took out the food inside. Qin Lu took off his coat, rolled up his cuffs, picked up the chopsticks with his big, bony hands, and started eating slowly. The man is pleasing to the eye, and even watching him eat is a pleasure. He asked warmly, Yan Yan, is Divine Dr. Hua okay? Nan Yan held her head and looked at him with faint eyes. When she heard him ask, she curved her lips and said, I brought the master back. Before going to Shenangjia, she actually considered whether to coax Hua Shifang out of the mountain. But she respected the master's decision and did not intend to force it. The master finally decided to return to the secular world, and a big reason was because of her. His little apprentice was bullied, and he, as a master, wanted to help her get revenge. When you have time, Yan Yan, take me to visit Dr. Hua. He wanted to kidnap someone's apprentice, so he had to meet him. Qin Lu couldn't help but think of Sun Chan's dislike for him. He couldn't help but worry in his heart. If Dr. Hua knew that he was targeting his apprentice, would he poison him and give him a few injections? He had one more person to deal with. I must meet him. Nan Yan supported her chin and nodded, when you have time, let's have dinner together. Qin Lu smiled slightly, okay. Brother, I'll help you deal with Qin Senator. Nan Yan's expression became serious. If he really has the heart to rebel, it will probably be exposed soon. Send someone to keep an eye on him. Qin Sen has someone behind him. But it's not someone from the Eglin royal family, not Prince Caesar. Last time, he took advantage of Qin Lu's trouble to force the emperor to abdicate because he was instructed by someone else. But although Qin Sen was a fool, he acted very carefully and never showed his hand. Qin Lu took another dish with chopsticks slowly. I have already found out. Nan Yan. Qin Lu raised his eyes and smiled. Brothers, people are not that incompetent. It's just that he never told her. She has so many things to do, why should she worry about such a small matter? Nan Yan's expression became lazy again, supporting her chin and looking at Qin Lu. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 402. After Qin Lu finished his meal, Nan Yan took the tableware to the sink to wash it and then put it away. Qin Lu took out a lollipop from the drawer of his desk, unwrapped the candy wrapper, stretched out his long arms, and put it directly to her mouth. Nan Yan opened her mouth and bit it, licked the candy with the tip of her tongue, and the fragrance of lychee spread between her lips and teeth. There are so many flavors of lollipops, but she still likes lychee flavor the most. Qin Lu's fingers rubbed her lips gently and ambiguously, with a dark color in his eyes, and smiled gently. Yan Yan, if you are not busy, wait for brother to get off work and go home together. Okay. Anyway, she had nothing else to do. Qin Lu was in a good mood. Brother will go to the meeting first. If you are bored, you can play on the computer. Nan Yan nodded obediently. The meeting was interrupted for half an hour and started again after Qin Lu returned to the meeting room. The executives sitting below looked at the high-ranking President Qin with a vague expression. I really didn't expect that President Qin was also immortal, and he would actually fall in love. What made it even harder for them to believe was that Mr. Qin's girlfriend was still a high school student. This was a bit too beastly. At least, find someone older. Qin Lu looked around and said lightly, "Why, do you have anything to ask me?" "Nothing, nothing." "No, no." Everyone waved their hands quickly, then sat up straight, suppressed their curiosity, and entered the meeting state. Nan Yan sat in Qin Lu's boss chair, playing on his computer. Probably because she felt that it was not very authentic for her to detain Bai Chen and do hard labor for her, Nan Yan cut her own account and logged into the dark domain website. As soon as the Pioneer account was online, someone privately chatted with him. "Drunkard, Yan Yan, where did you take Bai Chen?" "Pioneer, he is helping me with something." "Drunkard, what are you busy with?" "Pioneer, help me get revenge." "Drunkard, what revenge, do you need our help?" "Pioneer, not at the moment, I will tell you when I need you." "Drunkard, okay, when will you come to Country M, to meet?" "Pioneer, wait a little longer, I don't want to reveal my identity. The main reason is that she is afraid that Li Yuan and Drunkard will not accept her like this." Drunkard did not force her to go back, but just reminded her a few more words. "If she needs anything, don't be polite to him, just say it directly." Nan Yan will naturally not be polite to him. For the time being, she really does not need their help, and when she needs it in the future, she will definitely use it. Just like Bai Chen, who was conscripted, a dark domain supervisor, and now works as a spy. Just after talking to Drunkard, Li Yuan's dialog box also lit up. "Li Yuan, are you investigating the 7 deadly sins?" "Pioneer, yes, it is related to my blood feud." The 4 of Li Yuan know Nan Yan's background. Knowing that her parents were killed and brutally murdered, and also knowing from Bai Chen that her parents' death was related to Shishkin. Now it's related to the 7 deadly sins again. She wants revenge. It seems that there are more things to find out. "Li Yuan, do you need help?" The same tone as Drunkard. Drunkard and Bai Chen have long regarded Nan Yan as their sister. But Nan Yan, who is regarded as their sister, is the strongest one among the 4 of them. Nan Yan has always been taking care of them. Now there is a rare opportunity for them to help her, so they naturally do not refuse. Nan Yan did not hesitate to answer him and replied, "I will find you when I need help." "Li Yuan, what mission did you send Bai Chen to do?" "Pioneer, play Mission Impossible." "Li Yuan, I guess he likes it very much." "Pioneer, I guess. At this time, Bai Chen, who was thought by Li Yuan and Nan Yan to like this mission very much, was on the verge of going berserk. Why did he go berserk? It was naturally because of the dog man around him, Shen Junqing. In 7 days, he used Merck Biopharmaceutical Company to get into the 7 deadly sins. The process was very smooth, and the people who contacted them did not doubt their identities. Things at work went smoothly, but Bai Chen had every reason to suspect that Shen Junqing, this bastard, was not compatible with him. In order to cooperate with the acting, they were presented as a pair of brothers, but the people of the 7 deadly sins mistakenly thought that they had a special relationship, so when the 7 deadly sins came to visit, they were arranged in the same room. It was nothing to arrange them in the same room, 2 bedrooms and 1 living room, and they did not interfere with each other. But who knew that at dinner that night, Shen Junqing ate the wrong food, which led to allergies, vomiting and diarrhea, and a rash all over his body. The face under the human skin mask also became a disaster area. After he came back, he locked the door directly and took off the human skin mask, which was even more terrifying than his body. The originally fair skin was now covered with large patches of red, which looked a little scary. Shen Junqing was very uncomfortable, with a high fever, a manic personality, and itchy all over his body. In order not to disfigure himself, he had to restrain himself and could not scratch with his hands, almost going crazy. So, in order to divert his attention, he asked Bai Chen to fight with him, to consume his energy and divert his attention. Bai Chen felt sorry for him and didn't hit him hard. As a result, Shen Junqing, the bastard, hit him hard. While beating him, he also said he was trash. Bai Chen was furious. Didn't he want to fight? Then fight. Bai Chen also lost control, and the two of them fought fiercely. A sudden knock on the door made the two people who were fighting wake up. Then the two of them let go of each other at the same time and each took a few steps back. Bai Chen fixed the clothes that were torn apart during the fight and said to Shen Junqing, "Go to the bathroom and hide." Shen Junqing is using his true face now and cannot reveal it. Shen Junqing covered her face and turned around to enter the bathroom. He had just had a hearty fight and his sanity had returned a lot. Although my body is still itchy, it is bearable. Bai Chen waited for him to enter the bathroom and went to open the door. Outside is the gentlemanly and gentle Chapman. "I'm sorry that today's dinner brought a bad experience to the two distinguished guests. This is medicine to treat allergies." Chapman held a pill in his hand and looked into the room. "Where is Mr. Shen?" Bai Chen took the medicine he sent and said indifferently, "He is pouring cold water." Chapman looked at Bai Chen's clothes that were wrinkled in the fight and said meaningfully, "Then I won't disturb you two gentlemen anymore. I'll come back tomorrow to apologize to Mr. Shen." Bai Chen had no expression on his face and watched him leave. Then he locked the door again, walked to the bathroom with the medicine, and pushed the door open. Shen Junqing, who was taking a shower to resist the itch, was stunned for a second before quickly grabbing the shower curtain and pulling it closed. "Why didn't you knock on the door?" Shen Junqing's tone showed gritted teeth. "Bai Chen. How did he know he was really taking a shower?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 403. I'll bring you medicine. Bai Chen put the medicine in his hand directly on the sink beside him, turned around and walked out. Shen Junqing. Half an hour later, Shen Junqing took a cold shower, applied medicine for allergies, and came out wearing a bathrobe. The rash on his face became slightly lighter, and he looked much better. Bai Chen sighed, "I didn't expect you to really dare to use it." Shen Junqing glanced at him coldly, "Didn't you send it to me? I just saw that you were too uncomfortable, and I thought Chapman wouldn't tamper with the ointment." Shen Junqing said lightly, "This is also my reason." Both of them tacitly did not mention the previous embarrassment. 2 hours later, the rash on Shen Junqing's body disappeared, and the rash on his face also disappeared a lot, leaving only a light pink. It is estimated that it will be almost healed in half an hour. The faces of the two men were rarely solemn. At this time, there was a laptop in front of Bai Chen, and Shen Junqing was sitting next to him, watching the screen together. Bai Chen's computer skills are no worse than Nan Yan's, which is why Nan Yan arranged him to enter the 7 deadly sins. He found a lot of things here in the 7 days. Some things that destroyed the 3 views and annihilated humanity. But he can't send these things to Nan Yan yet. The network here is in a closed state, and only the internal network can be used. Once he contacts the outside world, he will be directly exposed. The means to stop him must be that there is a computer expert in the 7 deadly sins who is no worse than him. Fortunately, he came with Shen Junqing, otherwise, if it was someone else, as long as Nan Yan didn't come in person, he would have been exposed long ago. It's not that Shen Junqing is not capable enough, but he is a computer expert who can quietly infiltrate the entire base and monitor everyone's every move. If it weren't for him, Shen Junqing would have been exposed today. Shen Junqing couldn't bear it, and looked away. His voice was cold and gloomy. This kind of organization should not exist. If he closes his eyes now, those bloody and evil pictures will appear in his mind. Other laboratories use animals for experiments, which is cruel, but humans are at the top of the food chain, and animals cannot be compared with humans. But in the 7 deadly sins, humans are used as guinea pigs. Those who are naked, connected to various tubes, with dull eyes and expressionless faces are still good. At least their bodies are still intact. And those who are used for genetic hybridization. Shen Junqing's face became uglier and uglier. He forced himself not to think about it anymore. If he thought about it again, he would vomit. Xiao Yanyan is just trying to find a way to solve it. Bai Chen remained calm and continued to check the core secrets of the 7 deadly sins. Of course, if this is related to Nan Yan, he doesn't care. He doesn't have that much empathy. As long as the 7 deadly sins don't commit him, it has nothing to do with him. But if it involves Nan Yan, he can't ignore it. You can bully anyone, but you have to bully their Xiao Yanyan. It's simply asking for death. Bai Chen's hand speed is extremely fast, and he stored everything he found in a crystal element. Meanwhile, in a completely dark room on the 18th floor deep underground, only the computer screen is lit, which is the only light source in the room. Under the weak light, a pale and handsome face, with a sick look, looks at the screen gloomily. On his screen, all the surveillance of the entire 7 deadly sins base is displayed. All the rooms and every location are densely packed with hundreds of windows neatly arranged on them. Only one window is black. That room is where Bai Chen and Shen Junqing are. Interesting. A low and hoarse murmur with a weird tone. Soft, but as if coming from the abyss, it makes people feel creepy. To be able to block his surveillance, it seems that one of these two people is a computer expert. Let him guess, what does a computer expert want to do here? These two little reptiles, they don't want to investigate his 7 deadly sins. The man smiled gloomily, tapped the phone screen a few times with his fingertips, and soon the call was connected. "My master, what do you want?" Chapman's tone was very respectful, and he was extremely humble in front of him. The man said softly, "Without my permission, those two little reptiles are not allowed to leave." Chapman: "Yes, my master." Hashtag. This meeting lasted until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. A group of executives in the conference room were almost crazy from the high-intensity mental activities. Fortunately, President Qin still remembered that his girlfriend was in his office. After seeing that the time was almost up, he kindly said dismissal. The executives who survived took a long breath, then each raised his hand to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead, leaned back in the chair exhausted, and recovered his blood first. Qin Lu didn't stay for a second, packed up the documents in front of him, picked up his mobile phone, and walked out directly. Back in the office, Nan Yan was playing games. Enziran caught her free time, so he invited her to the big qualifying competition. In another month, the international selection of different paths will begin. Although Nan Yan will no longer be on the field, she is still needed to serve as a training ground for the team members. When Qin Lu came in, she was seriously acting as a very diligent grindstone to improve the actual combat ability of the team members. He stood quietly beside her, watching her play games, and appreciating his girl from another perspective. Nan Yan is very beautiful. Although this body is not as beautiful and enchanting as her original body, it also has other advantages. Her cold eyebrows, under the blessing of a serious state, exude a different kind of charm. His eyes fell on her rosy lips, and Qin Lu's tongue touched the soft flesh on his cheeks, and his eyes released a signal of lust. "So beautiful, I want to kiss." Fortunately, Qin Lu has always restrained himself. After moving his eyes away from her lips, he suppressed the thoughts in his heart. How long will it take? Unconsciously, he watched her play games for half an hour. Not in a hurry, but it's time to finish dinner, it's time to go to dinner. Nan Yan, a few minutes, after playing this game, we will go to the second master's courtyard to eat. Qin Lu suddenly felt a little stressed. A second master is already difficult to deal with. Now that the first and second masters are here, there will be a hangman feast in the courtyard. A few minutes later, Nan Yan finished this game. Fourth brother, I'm going to quit the game, you guys continue. Anziran, okay. After a moment of silence, Anziran couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, Yan Yan, have you become a disciple? He remembered that grandpa always wanted her to learn art from him. But the younger sister didn't agree. Now she has a master after going to the imperial capital. Which school did she become a disciple? Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 404. Nan Yan was silent for a moment and said frankly, medical skills. She lost her family when she was young and lacked family affection. It was Mr. An and Anziran who made up for this gap. Nan Yan has always been kind to others when others are kind to her. She has long regarded Mr. An and Anziran as relatives. So Anziran asked her, she had no intention of hiding it from him. Anziran was surprised, is it the master who taught you medical skills? If it's convenient, Yan, take your master home when you have time. Anziran just suggested, if Nan Yan didn't agree, he wouldn't force it. He wanted to thank Nan Yan's master in person for teaching her medical skills. If it weren't for Nan Hui's medical skills, Mr. An would probably be dead long ago. Nan Yan, okay, when I return to Jinjinj, I will ask him what he means. Well, then you go and do your work first. Fourth brother will continue to train them. After hanging up the phone, Nan Yan put the phone back into her pocket, and Qin Lu naturally held her hand. Before going to the courtyard, Qin Lu drove to the mall and bought some gifts. The first time she came to visit her empty-handed, the little girl's second master didn't want to see her. Now she came to her house for the second time and her senior master was there. It wouldn't be good if he came empty-handed again. Nan Yan gave advice on the side and quickly bought gifts before the two of them went to the courtyard. In the courtyard, Hua Shifang and Sun Chan were playing chess. As for Fu Yubai, he served the last soup to the table in the kitchen. As long as he was around, he couldn't let the two old people take action, so he cooked all the food for the table himself. It's almost 7 o'clock, why isn't Yan here yet? Sun Chan didn't know how many times he looked at the door, his tone complaining. Sure enough, as soon as the little apprentice came back, the stinky man had seduced her. He even asked her to have a meal and waited for so long without seeing anyone. Senior brother, if Yan brings that man here later, you must use your master's aura to calm him down, do you understand? Otherwise our little disciple will be coaxed away by the wild man. These disgusting words clearly show how much Sun Chan dislikes Qin Lu. Hua Shifang hummed, as long as I'm here, I'd like to see who dares to take Yan's idea. Fu Yubai looked at the attitudes of the two elderly people and couldn't help but silently light a candle for Qin Lu. Mr. Qin wants to marry Yan, but he has a long way to go. After another 10 minutes, the sound of parking finally came from outside. Then there was a knock on the door. Fu Yubai went over and opened the door. Not surprisingly, I saw two people. He lowered his voice and reminded, little junior sister, master, and uncle are all waiting impatiently. Nan Yan nodded, I understand, third senior brother. It was really unreasonable to ask master and the others to wait for her on the first day of dinner after returning. After a while she coaxed them. Mr. Qin, a friendly reminder, it's a bit difficult to kidnap Yan. Come on. Fu Yuebai expressed his spiritual support for Qin Lu. There is no other way. If he has actual support and stands on his side, he can't deal with the master's side. Qin Lu, thank you very much. The three of them exchanged a few words at the door and quickly walked into the courtyard. Hua Shifang and Sun Quan were still pretending to be angry and ignoring Nan Yan, and started playing chess again. Nan Yan walked over and said, "Master, second master." Only then did the two old men look up at her. Hua Shifang, coming. Sun Quan, you still know how to come. Seeing that the two elderly people looked a little angry, Nan Yan reflected on himself in a sincere tone, my fault, I didn't rush here in time and kept the two masters waiting for a long time. Huh, don't be sweet. Sun Quan turned his head proudly, and then saw Qin Lu standing on Nan Yan's right. His expression was startled. Your legs. Aren't you disabled in a wheelchair? Why are both legs good this time? Qin Lu replied warmly, thank you, Mr. Sun, for your concern. My leg injury has healed. Sun Quan replied expressionlessly, who cares about you anymore? He originally wanted to use the reason for his disability to make him a little self-aware and stop pestering their good disciple. Now that the only shortcoming is gone, what other excuse can there be? Sun Quan looked at Qin Lu and felt even more displeased. Qin Lu was despised, so he just smiled helplessly. After all, he is the little girl's master. No matter how much he dislikes him, he can only accept it. Immediately, he said to Hua Shifang with a respectful expression, Miracle Dr. Hua, I have heard about your name for a long time, and today I finally meet you in person. Hua Shifang replied rather coldly, yeah. He didn't want to show any kindness to the man who wanted to kidnap his apprentice. The atmosphere is a bit awkward. Nan Yan intervened and said with a flattering look, Master, second master, my brother bought you a gift, do you want to see it? Hua Shifang said calmly, put it aside for now. Yu Bai has already prepared the food. Wash your hands and eat first. Since Mr. Qin is here too, let's stay and have a meal together. This distant tone seemed to want to drive him away even more. But for Nan Yan's sake, she reluctantly allowed him to stay. Nan Yan. She looked at Qin Lu, made a helpless expression, and went to wash her hands obediently. It seems that it is not easy for my brother to be recognized by the two masters. Then I will be disrespectful to you. Qin Lu was gentle and polite. He did not feel angry because he was despised. He was measured in his actions. It was as if they despised him, but he was shamelessly pretending not to know. The test officially began when they sat at the table. Hua Shifang and Sun Quan talked one by one, and the content of the conversation was all related to medicinal materials and medical skills. Nan Yan and Fu Yuebai could both interrupt, but Qin Lu was excluded. But Hua Shifang and Sun Quan looked at him from time to time, as if to say that he, who knew nothing about Chinese medicine, was not worthy of their apprentice. Qin Lu was calm and composed. They talked about their own things, and he ate quietly. During the meal, he even picked up some food for Nan Yan. The natural and familiar way of getting along between the two made Hua Shifang and Sun Quan a little upset. It was over. They found out too late. The little apprentice had obviously been coaxed into the hands of Qin Lu, the stinky boy. This discovery made the two old men lose their appetite even for the food. After dinner, Nan Yan and Fu Yuebai cleaned up the dishes, and Hua Shifang called Qin Lu to the living room with a serious face. What is your relationship with Yan Yan? It's the relationship that you think it is, Mr. Hua. Hua Shifang was caught off guard by his answer. After a moment of silence, he spoke again, Yan Yan is still too young. My senior brother and I want to keep her for a few more years. At the earliest, we have to wait until she is 25 years old before considering letting her get married. Qin Lu said calmly, don't worry, Mr. Hua, I can wait. Hua Shifang, you can wait, but if you dare to bully her before I agree, you're dead. Qin Lu. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 405. Qin Lu said helplessly, Mr. Hua, I won't bully Yan Yan. He couldn't bear to spoil her, so how could he bear to bully her? Hua Shifang didn't appreciate it at all. You are not allowed to do anything out of line. Qin Lu, before marriage, the younger generation will not mess around. At most, it's a kiss. Okay, I will examine you carefully. If you don't meet the standards, don't even think about marrying Yan Yan. Yes, Mr. Hua. It was the first time that Mr. Qin was scolded so humbly, and he didn't dare to resist. It's much harder to deal with the little girl's parents than the little girl. Hua Shifang's depressed mood was somewhat improved because of Qin Lu's understanding. In the kitchen, Nan Yan and Fu Yubai were washing. Yan Yan, I'll leave this to my senior brother. You go outside. Nan Yan, let master and second master finish talking to my brother first, then I'll go out. Fu Yubai smiled and said, aren't you worried that master and uncle master will embarrass Mr. Qin? Nan Yan raised her eyebrows. Sooner or later, he will be embarrassed. Sooner or later, he will have to pass this test. Master and second master are old fathers. They don't want her to have a boyfriend so soon. Let Qin deal with it. He can handle Mr. An, so he must be able to handle them. That's right, Fu Yubai chuckled. Mr. Qin wants to kidnap their precious apprentice, how can he not go through some hardships? But little sister, are you really sure of him? Fu Yubai looked serious. He hopes that little sister will be happy, but will Qin Lu really be her good man? Although he is not very clear about Qin Lu's identity, he can feel from several times of getting along that Qin Lu's identity is definitely not ordinary. He is very strong, with the super aura of a real superior. Even though he had been restrained around Nan Yan, he could still sense the pressure and strength that emanated from him. Such a man was not so easy to control. If he was sincere, it would be fine. What if he approached the junior sister with some purpose? Then the junior sister would be in danger. However, he could feel that Qin Lu had deep feelings for the junior sister. Hopefully, those were just his unfounded worries. Third senior brother, I don't know much about love or feelings, but I want to follow my heart. Nan Yan's tone was a little vague. If I have to choose someone to spend the rest of my life with me, I only want to be with him. There was no other man who could move her heart like this. For the first time, Fu Yubai saw the expression of deep affection in Nan Yan's expression. Junior sister, she is indeed moved. Fu Yubai smiled warmly and blessed, Junior sister, I hope you can get what you want. Thank you, third senior brother. Hashtag. After washing the dishes, Nan Yan and Fu Yubai returned to the living room. They did not see the expected scene of two old men making things difficult for Qin Lu. On the contrary, they looked very harmonious. Qin Lu was playing chess with Hua Shifang, while Sun Chan sat next to Hua Shifang and watched the game. Nan Yan and Fu Yubai also joined the chess watching. Qin Lu's chess skills were very good, and he could fight Hua Shifang on equal terms. In the end, he lost by a small margin. Hua Shifang put the chess piece on the chessboard and glanced at him indifferently, you are good at chess. You can come and play chess with me more often when you are free. Qin Lu smiled slightly, it is an honor for the junior generation. Hua Shifang, it is getting late. You can do whatever you need to do. You don't have to stay here. Nan Yan naturally took Qin Lu's hand and said obediently, I will come again tomorrow. Well, I will accompany master to the Divine Doctor sect tomorrow. Hua Shifang's tone was slightly heavy. The Divine Doctor sect is indeed as the junior brother and the little apprentice said. Even if he closes the sect, he can't let Feng Zhenzi and his group use the name of the Divine Doctor sect to make money. Since he chose to come back, he must take back the Divine Doctor sect and pass it to Nan Yan in its entirety. Hashtag. After leaving the courtyard, Nan Yan and Qin Lu got in the car and prepared to go directly back to the Qin family. But halfway through the car, Nan Yan's phone rang. Someone sent her a message. Take out the phone, the screen lights up, and there is an encrypted text message on it. Nan Yan quickly decrypted the message and clicked on it. Her face became serious when she saw what was sent. Third brother and Bai Chen are exposed. Qin Lu was driving. He looked at her and asked, "What's going on?" Bai Chen didn't say anything, but he and third brother are now deprived of their freedom and are under surveillance. If the situation wasn't particularly critical, he wouldn't have contacted her in this way. The two of them are now at the Seven Deadly Sins headquarters, and it's very difficult to save them. But, she must save them. I'm going to country M. Well, I'll arrange a plane. Qin Lu didn't stop Nan Yan. Bai Chen and Shen Junqing are now in danger, and their lives and deaths are unknown. She can't stay. Half an hour later, the plane took off from the helipad of the Qin family's old house. This time, Qin Lu was accompanying her. Just like Nan Yan couldn't ignore Shen Junqing and Bai Chen. He couldn't let Nan Yan take risks alone. And Nan Yan also contacted Li Yuan and Zy Gui. The two sides agreed to meet in country M. Hashtag. 5 hours later, the plane landed at the place agreed with Li Yuan and the others. Nan Yan and Qin Lu both disguised themselves to avoid being monitored by the Seven Deadly Sins. In a very ordinary coffee shop, Li Yuan and the drunkard were waiting for Nan Yan to arrive in a relatively quiet room. Li Yuan's cup contained black coffee. The drunkard held a bottle of wine, looked at the door, and then took a sip. After a few minutes, he looked at the door again and took another sip. Although the drunkard's name is Drunkard, he doesn't look drunk at all. On the contrary, the more he drinks, the brighter his eyes become and the more sober he becomes. Soon, a bottle of high-concentration vodka was finished by him like drinking water. His face was still cold and pale, and then he opened another bottle. The door was knocked, 3 long and 1 short, which was the code they agreed on. The drunkard sat up straight and coughed lightly, "Come in." As soon as the door opened, Li Yuan frowned, "Why 2 people?" He thought it was only Nan Yan. Nan Yan heard what he said and pointed at Qin Lu, "I brought a family member with me. Do you two mind?" Family member, Li Yuan and the drunkard were puzzled at the same time. "Well, he and I are a family." Nan Yan's words made Qin Lao happy. Considering that the occasion was not right, he suppressed the arc of his lips. Li Yuan and the drunkard were even more confused. "No, you and him are a family, but you and us are not a family." The drunkard was dissatisfied. Why did he find this strange word so unpleasant to hear? "Nan Yan, you are my relatives and family." "That's more like it." The drunkard narrowed his eyes. "No." He touched Li Yuan with his elbow and frowned, "Look at Xiao Yanyan, isn't it a little strange?" In order to avoid being exposed during this meeting, the 4 of them disguised themselves, so the faces they showed now were not their real faces. So at the beginning, because he felt too familiar, he did not doubt Nan Yan's identity. However, now that he looked closely, it was not right. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 406. Yan Yan, what happened to you? Li Yuan's eyes fell on Nan Yan. At first glance, he saw that something was wrong with her. An adult's height would not change much even if he hadn't changed for many years. In particular, Nan Yan was shorter than before. If it weren't for the familiar aura she had on him, he would have taken action in advance, caught her, and interrogated her. Now everyone is wearing a human skin mask, and it doesn't feel real with a face between them. Can you accept rebirth after death? Nan Yan knew that she couldn't hide it from them. After all, her current figure is too different from her original one. Are you really Xiao Yan Yan? The drunkard asked a stupid question. If it wasn't Nan Yan, how could she know they were here? Besides, their familiarity with her was not wrong. But what did she say? Rebirth after death? This is a bit of a fantasy. Nan Yan knew they didn't believe it, so she spread her hands and said, "That's the truth. Otherwise, why can I stand in front of you now?" Ziwigi and Li Yuan stood up and looked at Nan Yan from top to bottom, left to right, and back to front several times. Qin Lu was pushed aside by the two of them and stood aside, looking at the two people who were emotional. These are the remaining two of the four members of the Dark Domain, Li Yuan and Ziwigi. The rumored Li Yuan is very confident, black-hearted and calculating. He is a well-known black-hearted businessman who makes money like skinning. Now in front of his little girl, how can he be calm at all? It seems that the little girl's weight in their hearts is no less than her weight in Bai Chen's heart. So, he has two more men who are not easy to offend. Brother Qin looked a little helpless. It seems that there are many obstacles on his way to pursue the little girl. And one by one, they are not easy to mess with. After Li Yuan and Ziwigi looked at Nan Yan, they were very sure that the current Nan Yan was definitely not the same person as the previous Nan Yan. If it were someone else, they would definitely suspect that she was an imposter. However, facing her, they could not doubt it. Li Yuan stretched out his hand and pinched her cheek, his eyes deep. "Yan Yan, are you really dead?" Seeing Li Yuan's actions, Qin Lu's eyes were a little dangerous. However, he had to endure it even if he didn't like it. Who said, they are also the little guy's family? Nan Yan patted his hand. He died for 3 months before he came back to life. Bai Chen already knew. He went to Huaguo to find me, and he knew it as soon as we met. The drunkard said angrily, "Bai Chen, he didn't tell us all the time." Nan Yan spoke for Bai Chen, "I'm afraid you won't be able to accept it." "If he can accept it, why can't we accept it?" The drunkard looked at her expressionlessly. "Tell me the truth, if it wasn't for the possibility that Bai Chen might get into trouble, would you still be hiding it from me and Li Yuan?" Nan Yan replied calmly without any guilt, "That's what I planned." Drunkard. Li Yuan. You don't have to answer so honestly. But they couldn't be angry with Nan Yan. Li Yuan's tone sank. "Is it that we can't make you trust us, or do you only care about Bai Chen?" "Neither, you three are the same in my heart. I don't want to tell you because I don't want to reveal my identity." Drunkard snorted, "So do you think we will expose you to others?" "But Bai Chen won't." Nan Yan. "There's no way to explain it clearly. Let's talk about this later, let's discuss how to save Bai Chen first." Nan Yan directly changed the subject. Li Yuan looked at Qin Lu and said lightly, "Yan Yan, let me introduce the identity of the person you brought first." He believed that Nan Yan had a sense of propriety and would not bring irrelevant people to see them casually. But he still had to know the other party's identity. Qin Lu stepped forward and came in front of them. Facing the two people who had already tested and pressured him, he released his aura without making a sound and competed with them secretly. Qin Lu too cold and indifferent words. Li Yuan's expression moved slightly, and his eyes looked at Nan Yan twice more. "Great, you took this person down without saying anything." Nan Yan pretended not to see his meaningful look. She certainly couldn't tell them that she was taken down by Qin Lu. After 25 years of peace of mind, she actually fell for Qin Lu in just a few months. If she told them, they would probably make fun of her. Seeing that Nan Yan pretended not to see it, Li Yuan curled the corners of his lips, and then nodded slightly to Qin Lu. It turned out to be Mr. Qin. The drunkard was stunned for a few seconds before reacting. "Qin Lu, the CEO of Junlin Group. Qin Lu's international fame was not based on the power of the Qin family. When he was studying abroad, he founded a Junlin Group. In just 7 years, it has become a well-known international conglomerate, more important than the Qin family. Moreover, Junlin's headquarters is abroad, not in China, but no force knows where it is. Junlin Group is mysterious and powerful. It has bankrupted numerous multinational companies and family businesses in 7 years. Its methods are tough and cruel. The person in power, Qin Lu, is even more terrifying. Many people are scared of him, but they have to be respectful in front of him. Qin Lu nodded and said in a calm voice, "Mr. Drunkard, we have dealt with each other before." The drunkard said expressionlessly, "Do you know that when I deal with you, I am always worried that I will get into trouble if I make you unhappy one day." Qin Lu was also calm for Nan Yan's sake, who said that it is too easy for the dark domain to make money, which makes people jealous. The dark domain and Junlin are the pinnacles of two different fields, and we cannot care about who is stronger or weaker. In terms of scale and power, Junlin is naturally better, but in terms of financial resources, the dark domain is better. The dark domain is famous for its ability to make money, and the transaction commission is several million per minute. I don't know how many forces are jealous. Qin Lu did have thoughts before, but later changed his mind after contacting the drunkard. The drunkard is good at dancing with long sleeves and is a rare diplomat who is good at winning people's hearts. Among the 4 major managers of the dark domain, except Nan Yan who doesn't manage things much, the other 3 have their own positions. None of them can be missing. Li Yuan and the drunkard just sneered at Qin Lu's words. It is easy for dark domain to make money, but they have managed it step by step. Moreover, Junlin's ability to make money is not much worse than theirs. It has been snowballing for so many years, and it is hard to imagine how much wealth has accumulated now. But we will be a family in the future. I have discussed the cooperation between Dark Domain and Junlin with Bai Chen before, which is mutually beneficial and win-win. Qin Lu's words were met with the roll of the eyes from Li Yuan and Zy Gui. Whoever dares to be a family with him, it is estimated that Dark Domain will have to change its owner. But now that we know the relationship between Nan Yan and him, it is estimated that this is not possible. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 407. After knowing each other's identities, the 4 of them sat at the table. Nan Yan did not hide it from Li Yuan and Zy Gui anymore, and told them that Bai Chen had entered the 7 deadly sins under the cover of Merck Biological Company in order to help her. Now Bai Chen and the 3rd brother have been discovered by the 7 deadly sins and are in prison. For their safety, they must be rescued as soon as possible. Zy Gui pondered for a moment and asked, "Bai Chen is not wearing his original face, right?" Bai Chen is not like him and Li Yuan, because they often show up, and their real faces have been known to the outside world. Bai Chen and Nan Yan are relatively low-key and more accustomed to hiding themselves. Over the years, they have only been photographed once in their true appearance, and they deleted it in time after being discovered. But, it was leaked after all, and it would be seen by more or less people. It's better to be safe than sorry. As long as the identity of the Dark Domain supervisor is not exposed, he should be safer. Well, the 2 of them disguised themselves when they entered the 7 deadly sins. That's good. If he doesn't reveal this identity, he can be safer. After all, the 4 managers of their dark domain are all on the bounty list, and many people have paid a lot of money to buy their lives. So, Bai Chen never uses his original face when he is outside. It's good. Li Yuan and Zy Gui felt a little relieved. Yan Yan, just tell me what you want to do. They believed that since Nan Yan came to them, she must have thought about what to do. Use the power of the dark domain to let the 7 deadly sins take the initiative to find you. I will take the opportunity to sneak into the 7 deadly sins and bring Bai Chen and others out. Country has been peaceful for too long, and it needs some chaos to disturb the pool of water, so that the 7 deadly sins can reveal their feet. She didn't know who was behind the 7 deadly sins, but since he could hide for so long and develop in secret, he would never let go if he was given a chance. The disturbed pool of water would bring him a lot of conveniences and make it easier for him to do something shameful. After listening to Nan Yan's meaning, Li Yuan nodded, okay. Brother Qin coughed lightly and drew the attention of several people. Yan, this matter is easier for me to do. He has a more stable foundation in the United States, and his influence is much greater than that in China. Junlin is not just a legitimate business on the surface, there are many forces that cannot be put on the surface. He can overturn this calmness with just a flick of his finger. Li Yuan, yes, Mr. Qin is indeed more suitable. Then both sides will join forces to completely disrupt the situation. Nan Yan was very calm. She wanted to kill the 7 deadly sins in the cradle before they formed a big climate and had no ability to threaten the world. If they were allowed to continue to develop, if one day he really developed a drug that could change human genes, it would probably be difficult to eliminate them. That's good, this is more secure. After Li Yuan and Zy Gui agreed, the four began to discuss the plan. Hashtag. Nan Yan was worried about the safety of Bai Chen and Shen Junqing, and after coming out of the cafe, she went to find Marcus first. As for Qin Lu, he promised Nan Yan that he would disrupt the balance of country. Some things cannot be done by his subordinates alone, and he needs to come forward in person. The two separated temporarily. Merck Biological Company. Nan Yan contacted Marcus after entering the company. Alice, why are you back again? Marcus was very surprised to receive Nan Yan's call. Of course, he asked this not because he did not welcome Nan Yan to come, on the contrary, he hoped that Nan Yan could stay. Something happened, Marcus, I will stay here for a few days. She would not leave without rescuing Bai Chen and Shen Junqing. Marcus pulled her to sit on the sofa and said seriously, this place is originally yours, you can stay as long as you want. Merck Biological Company was opened by Nan Yan, and he was just managing it on behalf of her. As for the corporate legal person, Nan Yan did not want to cause too much trouble for herself, so she directly filled him in. But in Marcus's heart, Nan Yan is the owner, and he only needs to keep her things. Sister, do you want a drink or soda? I don't have tea or boiled water. Marcus is younger than Nan Yan, and occasionally calls her sister. Even though Nan Yan looks 4 or 5 years younger than him, he still calls her sister without any pressure. Soda water, please. Okay. Marcus took a bottle of Coke and a bottle of soda water from the refrigerator, walked back to Nan Yan, and handed her the soda water. Nan Yan took the soda water handed over by Marcus, unscrewed the bottle cap and took a sip, then asked calmly, have the 7 deadly sins contacted you again recently? Marcus shook his head, no, since Mr. Bai and Mr. Shen contacted them on my behalf, I have no intersection with them. What happened? Is it related to the 7 deadly sins again? Nothing, it's good that you are not involved. Otherwise, she has one more person to care about. Now she has to find a way to contact Bai Chen and find out his situation. Hashtag. Headquarters of the 7 deadly sins. Bai Chen and Shen Junqing were in a bad situation. The 2 distinguished guests who came to visit them became prisoners and were now being abused. 2 well-known figures fell into this state. If this were to be told to others, it would probably make people laugh. Tell me, how did they find out that something was wrong with us? Shen Junqing was covered in wounds, but he didn't care. He sat at the foot of the wall with his legs propped up, still carefree. It was really surprising that he, a lone wolf, could have this day. He didn't expect that he had been scheming and planning for so many years, and he was so successful outside, but he actually capsized in the gutter. Bai Chen was also injured, and his coat was almost completely stained with blood. He suppressed the injuries on his body and said expressionlessly, "It's probably because of me." Shen Junqing was stunned and asked a little confusedly, "What did you do?" Bai Chen slowly exhaled, closed his eyes, and said lightly, "Don't say it, the walls have ears. There are surveillance cameras in this room. Their every move and all their conversations are under each other's eyes." He should have guessed that since there is a computer expert in the 7 deadly sins, he will definitely notice him. Fortunately, he was cautious and left no traces. Even if they guessed that they came with a purpose, they couldn't guess that he had copied all the secrets of the 7 deadly sins. Shen Junqing smiled indifferently, his blood-stained face still looked stunning. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, leaned his head against the wall, and asked in a low voice, "Do you think that if the two of us die here, will anyone know?" "You ask me, who should I ask?" Bai Chen did not tell Shen Junqing that he had already informed Nan Yan. He still believed in Xiao Yanyan's strength. She would find a way to rescue them. The closed door was pushed open, and Chapman came in. "You two, are you still not going to confess? Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss." Author, Junanan. Chapter 408. The closed door opened, and Chapman walked in. He came in front of the two, looked down at them in a state of embarrassment, and said lightly, "You two, are you not going to confess yet?" Shen Junqing sneered nonchalantly, "You ask me to confess, so I confess. This makes me look so cheap. Otherwise, you can beg me." Chapman's warm face slid across a trace of coldness, and he kicked Shen Junqing in the chest directly. Shen Junqing's face turned pale and he spit out a large mouthful of blood. "Bai Chen. I have never seen such a rude person. He is asking for trouble. He deserves to be beaten to death. I still hope that you two will cooperate a little, so that you can feel better, otherwise suffering these physical pains is light. They have not used all the means of interrogation. If they don't cooperate, Chapman can only hand it over to more professional personnel for interrogation." Chapman waited for a while, and neither of them wanted to answer. Shen Junqing was spitting blood out mouthful by mouthful, and it was estimated that there was no way to answer. Bai Chen had no intention of paying attention to him at all. Chapman was not angry when he saw this, but just said lightly, "I will give you 2 more hours to think about it. If you two still don't cooperate, I will have to use some inhumane means." Before leaving, Chapman did not favor one over the other and gave Bai Chen another blow. Bai Chen raised his hand with difficulty to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, and rolled his eyes speechlessly. After enduring the severe pain, he leaned against the wall weakly and looked at Shen Junqing lightly. "Are you dead?" Shen Junqing's tone was a little weak. "You are still alive and well, how could I die?" He lost too much blood, his vision was affected, and everything he saw was blurry. He coughed up another mouthful of blood, and murmured, "I guess we are in danger this time. Do you have any regrets?" "Yes." Bai Chen's tone was very light. He was not sure whether Nan Yan could arrive in time. Perhaps, as Shen Junqing said, they might die here. But before the last moment, he still kept hope. With only 2 of them who were seriously injured, the possibility of escaping from here was 0. What's more, they were now completely under each other's eyes, and their every move was monitored. "I'm afraid it would be a problem to even get out of this door." "What's the most regrettable thing?" Shen Junqing seemed to care less about his injuries than about his gossip. "The most regrettable thing is how I died with you." Pitfall. Bai Chen's words were full of disdain for Shen Junqing. Shen Junqing just snorted coldly, "Dying with me, what's wrong with you?" He didn't even dislike him, so what right did he have to dislike him? Bai Chen didn't want to continue such a childish topic with him, but seeing that Shen Junqing was not in a good state, he thought about it and replied, "If I die with you, I will be annoyed by you on the way to the underworld." "Shen Junqing, go away, you are annoying." Bai Chen laughed, who is annoying knows it in his heart, someone should be self-aware. Shen Junqing has always been thick-skinned, and said indifferently, "What is self-awareness? I have never heard of it." Bai Chen and him quarreled, but Shen Junqing's voice became weaker and weaker. Finally, he seemed to fall asleep against the wall. Shen-san. In order to avoid exposing their identities, they called each other by pseudonyms. Shen Junqing did not respond. Bai Chen frowned and called again. Shen-san. Shen Junqing opened his eyes with difficulty, calling souls, "You are so noisy." Bai Chen breathed a sigh of relief, "Don't sleep. I know." Shen Junqing also felt that his condition was not very good. Continuous blood loss made his body temperature lower and lower, and now there were phantoms in front of his eyes. Fatigue and sleepiness came together, making him want to fall asleep. If Bai Chen hadn't woken him up just now, he would have probably fallen into a coma now. "If I die, remember, tell Yan Yan, don't be sad for me, don't blame yourself, everything, I am willing." The girl he wanted to protect in his heart didn't want his death to make her feel sad and blame herself. As long as she was happy. As for the rest, it didn't matter. Someone would do what he wanted to do for him and he wouldn't have any other regrets. Bai Chen bit his tongue, using the pain to wake himself up, and then said coldly, "You should tell her these words in person." Shen Junqing. He's dead, how can he tell Nan Yan in person? Is it a ghost dream? Funny. Is that really the case? He was still worried that he would scare Nan Yan. Bai Chen whispered, "We won't die, hold on." He believed in his partner. Hashtag. Qin Lu and Li Yuan acted quickly. In order to bring out the 7 deadly sins more quickly, they simply staged a conflict and turned the Dark Domain and the King's Landing group into enemies. The two supergiants provoked a conflict, and other organizations wanted to take advantage of the situation and then got involved in the conflict between the two major forces. The snowball rolled bigger and bigger, and soon affected nearly half of the world's large companies. The stock market began to dance wildly, rising and falling continuously, and in the black market, a lot of drugs, guns, and ammunition flowed out during the chaos. At the same time, there was news that an ownerless mine was discovered in the Middle East. It was not a gold mine, silver mine, or diamond mine, but a mine containing a variety of trace elements, rare metals, and rare gases. Its research value has exceeded the current largest mine. As soon as this news came out, it almost caused a sensation in the world, and many forces wanted to get a piece of the pie. In just one day, more than hundreds of planes flew to the Middle East. Yan Yan, the 7 deadly sins have begun to act. Under multiple temptations, no matter how cautious the 7 deadly sins were, they could not help but be attracted and wanted to get a piece of the pie. The owner of the 7 deadly sins is an extremely ambitious and scheming person. If Qin Lu and Li Yuan had not joined forces to drag the whole world into the scam, he would never show up easily. 2 days have passed since she came to country M. Nan Yan was suffering every minute and every second. She was afraid that Bai Chen and Shen Junqing could not wait that long. So after receiving the news from Qin Lu, telling her that the people of the 7 deadly sins were also dispatched, she immediately started the rescue operation. The headquarters of the 7 deadly sins is more difficult to enter than the headquarters of Shishkin. She has no pass, and forcing in will alert the other party. In order to get in as soon as possible, she kidnapped Shishkin directly. Shishkin was thrown into a windowless room by Xingjie, and the only door was guarded by her. Seeing Nan Yan coming, Xingjie quickly put out the cigarette in her hand and looked at her with admiration. "Miss Nan, you are here." Nan Yan nodded, and then asked, "Is he in there?" Xingjie nodded quickly, "Yes, I threatened him, and now he is mentally collapsed." "How did you threaten him?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 409. How did you intimidate him? Nanyan was quite curious about what method Qin Ye used to scare Shishkin to the point of mental breakdown. Based on her understanding of Shishkin, he could cruelly kill people who regarded him as a relative. What else could scare him? In Nanyan's eyes, he had long lost his humanity. He could do anything to achieve his goals and had no respect for life at all. It was not easy to scare such a person. Qin Ye said proudly, ordinary methods will definitely not work. We have to start with what he cares about most. Sometimes death is not scary, but losing everything is the scariest, especially for people like him who have already stood at a certain height, are hypocritical, and value fame and fortune. Letting him lose everything is more difficult for him to accept than killing him. Nanyan naturally knew this statement. Nanyan sneered, then his psychological endurance is really poor. Qin Ye nodded in agreement, yes, he is a coward. I'll go in and take a look. Nanyan opened the door, and when she entered the door, she turned on the light in the room by the way, and then closed the door tightly. Shishkin seemed to have suffered a blow. When the door opened, his body was frightened. Seeing that it was Nanyan, he seemed to see a savior and hurriedly said, Yan Yan, save me. Save me. I will let you be the deputy director of the institute in the future, give you all the honors, and let you become my second in command. What I said is true. Shishkin's fear of Qin Ye did not only come from the words she threatened him. More importantly, it was actually because she said that Nanyan was reborn and wanted to seek revenge on him. He had a guilty conscience. His hands were stained with the blood of so many people in the Nan family. He was really afraid that if Nanyan was reborn, the first person would probably come to kill him. Nanyan looked at him expressionlessly, took out a white porcelain bottle from her pocket, opened the lid, and poured out a pill. She raised her hand to hold his face and forced the pill into his mouth. Shishkin was unwilling to eat it and tried desperately to spit out the pill in his mouth. But the pill melted directly in his mouth and swallowed down his throat. Ugh, cough cough. Shishkin put his hand on his throat, but nothing came out. He pointed at Nanyan and asked tremblingly, what did you give me to eat? Nanyan said lightly, the poison that makes you live a life worse than death. You and Nian are in the same group. Shishkin was too scared before, so he forgot that Qin Ye was introduced by Nanyan to enter his laboratory. Why didn't I realize that your brain is so stupid before? But she was even stupider before. She was actually fooled by such a person. It's so stupid. Before Shishkin considered when she was talking about before, the poison began to take effect. The terrible pain that was more painful than the intestines and stomach ruptured spread from the inside to the outside. Every cell, every organ, every bone, all made sharp cries. It hurt so much that he wanted to commit suicide right now to get rid of this bone-eating maggot-like pain. He screamed, tears, snot and saliva came out at the same time. He even banged his head against the wall, trying to faint. However, he was in so much pain that his whole body was almost cramped, and he couldn't use any strength at all. Banging against the wall like this, except for a little pain in his head, couldn't even divert his attention. Ah! Kill me, please kill me. I'm dying, it hurts so much, it hurts. Through a door, Qin Ye couldn't help but get goosebumps all over her body when she heard the shrill screams inside. What did Miss Nan do? To scare people like this? She really wanted to go in and take a look. Qin Ye sighed and waited outside the door honestly. In the room, Shishkin's screams lasted for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the dense and bone-eroding pain finally eased and slowly stopped hurting. His whole body was like being fished out of the water, soaked in cold sweat, his face was pale, and his hands and feet were shaking. Nanyan looked down at him and said coldly, This poison will not kill you, but if you don't take the antidote, it will attack every 2 hours. And the pain is stronger each time. No painkillers will work, and you can't fall into a coma until you die of pain. What do you want to do? Although Shishkin is a little stupid, his reaction speed is still quite fast. Nan Yan chose to torture him instead of killing him directly. It is clear that she has another purpose. He doesn't want to die yet. If there is a chance to live, he is willing to pay any price to survive. Nan Yan bent her lips coldly, "Take me to the headquarters of the 7 deadly sins." After hesitating for a moment, Shishkin finally chose to compromise, "I can promise to take you in, but you must give me the antidote." He doesn't want to experience this kind of pain again in his life. It's really worse than death. If he still had the strength when the poison attacked just now, he would have ended his life long ago. It was too painful, so painful that even the soul wanted to tremble. Even if he is no longer in pain now, he still trembles all over when he thinks about the situation just now. Okay. Hashtag. Give Shishkin half an hour to recover, and then she went with him to the 7 deadly sins headquarters. Along the way, with Shishkin leading the way, Nan Yan entered smoothly. After entering the 7 deadly sins, she turned on the microcomputer and began to hack into the 7 deadly sins internal network to check the location of Bai Chen and Shen Junqing. Chapman had already transferred Shen Junqing and Bai Chen to other places, and they were interrogated separately, with a long distance between them. Nan Yan found Bai Chen first. After another 2 days, Bai Chen and Shen Junqing had been tortured beyond recognition. Chapman had them injected with genetic drugs and used them as experimental mice. Although their lives were saved, the pain they suffered was much worse than death. When Nan Yan saw that Bai Chen was breathing weakly and had various tubes connected to instruments all over his body, her eyes turned red. She gritted her teeth and continued to look, and found Shen Junqing again. This time, she couldn't hold back her tears. Shen Junqing was also still alive. But he had been disemboweled, his entire chest cavity was opened, and the organs inside could be seen clearly. They were doing live experiments on him. The hatred and anger in Nan Yan's heart were like substance. Shishkin was frightened by her terrifying murderous aura and took a few steps back, not daring to get too close to her. Suddenly, she raised her head, her eyes were red and angry, and she looked directly at him. Shishkin's legs softened and he almost knelt down. He hurriedly said, "They did this, it has nothing to do with me. Even if you kill me, you can't get out." Nan Yan suppressed the raging anger in her chest that was about to burst out, and said 3 words coldly, "Go back first." "What did you say?" Nan Yan's hands clenched tightly, "I can't take them away by myself." Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 410. Shishkin. He thought that he only needed to bring Nan Yan into the 7 deadly sins headquarters. Turns out, she was coming in to save people. It's not enough to come in once, but you have to go out again, and then bring more people in. Shishkin knew the consequences of the 7 deadly sins of betrayal. However, if he doesn't do what Nan Yan wants, then his life will really be worse than death. He wants to live, not die. Therefore, he did not want to expose his betrayal to the 7 deadly sins, and wanted to fulfill Nan Yan's request and get freedom as soon as possible. 11 Shijin's heart was filled with hatred for Nan Yan. But he had to follow her wishes and leave first, waiting for her to bring enough people before coming back. "Shishkin, are you leaving so soon?" With a smile that didn't reach his eyes, Chapman looked at the 2 people's inquiries with interest. 11 Shijin's heart trembled, and he kept his emotions steady so as not to show a panicked expression. "Although they have been working together with the man in front of me for 20 or 30 years, when I get along with him, I always feel that he is like a poisonous snake hiding in the darkness. Even though he always looked gentle and polite, his smiling look always made people feel scared." Shishkin suppressed his emotions, smiled at him and said, "Suddenly I remembered that there is still something to do in the research institute, and the master is not here either, so I'll go back first." Chapman glanced at Nanyan and seemed to be somewhat interested in the new face brought by Shishkin. Nanyan lowered his head slightly, restrained his aura, and tried to make himself as normal as possible. Chapman looked away casually and said calmly, "Oh, let's go back first." Coming out of the Seven Deadly Sins headquarters, Shishkin breathed a heavy sigh of relief. Then he said awkwardly, "I think Chapman may doubt my intention of taking you there. If we go again, we will probably be targeted by him. That's a smiling tiger. Don't look at him who is smiling all the time. In fact, he has the most thoughts." Shishkin didn't want to take any chances. After being discovered, he probably really wanted to live but not die. Nanyan's eyebrows were filled with anger, and she said coldly, "So what, even if you are targeted, you have to leave this time. She must save third brother and Bai Chen. And these 7 deadly sins, she was destined to die." Nanyan was like an evil Shura ghost crawling out of hell. He slowly said word by word, "If you want to escape, I won't stop you. As for the poison in your body, I'm sure that no one in this world can solve it." Thinking of the bone-eroding pain that impressed him so much, Shishkin quickly shook his head, "I don't dare to run away." "But when do you plan to enter the headquarters again?" Nanyan, "In an hour." Shishkin, "Then the excuse he mentioned before will probably be exposed immediately. And going in again after such a short period of time does not mean there is a problem. Let alone a dark-minded person like Chapman, he even felt that something was not right. But he couldn't fight Nanyan, so he had no choice but to grit his teeth and agree. Nanyan is afraid of long nights and many dreams. She was even more worried. What if Chapman found out there was something wrong with her and he moved Bai Chen and Shen Junqing to another place? She was even more worried that if she alerted the enemy, they would kill her. Therefore, they must be rescued as soon as possible. Hashtag. An hour later, Qin Ye and Li Yuan arrived. In addition to the two of them, there were also several secret guards who came to help. "Yan, have you seen Bai Chen?" Li Yuan was very worried about Bai Chen's condition. Nanyan nodded, his expression a little gloomy. "He is not in a good condition and suffered a lot in there." A flash of murderous intent flashed through Li Yuan's eyes. He regards Bai Chen as his younger brother. Now that Bai Chen is being bullied, he cannot just let it go. "Go save him first." Li Yuan suppressed the murderous intention in his heart. "Everything will be discussed after rescuing people." Nanyan looked at 11 Shijin. Shishkin sighed secretly and said bravely, "Come in with me." An hour later, 11 Shijin led Nanyan and his party into the 7 deadly sins again. As soon as I walked in, I found Chapman sitting leisurely in front of the door, with a small table set up with coffee, pastries, and a laptop on it. It seemed that he was waiting for something to happen. I had already guessed that they would come in again. Chapman took a slow sip of coffee, leaned his head lazily, and asked with a smile, "Shishkin, why don't you introduce the name of the distinguished guest you brought?" Zishi's head was getting bigger, and his back was getting chills. He felt that his life might be decided here today. Is he betraying Nanyan or betraying the 7 deadly sins? But it seems that no matter what the outcome, his end is not too good. Nanyan was too lazy to talk nonsense to the man in front of him, and looked at Li Yuan, relying on their tacit understanding many years ago, to take action at the same time. Chapman didn't expect that they would strike without saying a word or even talking to each other. But he wasn't just waiting to be caught. Chapman raised his foot and kicked on the table. The chair quickly slid back with him, avoiding the joint attack of Nanyan and Li Yuan. Not only that, while retreating, he pressed the button of a remote control in his hand. A puff of white smoke poured down from above Nanyan and the others. 11 Shijin's face changed, and a line of big words flashed in his mind, my life is at stake. Comparing poison with her? A sneer appeared in Nan Yan's eyes. She took out a medicine bottle from her pocket and poured out 7 small pills. She ate 1 pill herself and gave the rest to Li Yuan and Qin Ye, asking them to share. In 6 hours, you will be immune to all poisons. As for Shishkin, there was no need for him to live. He could survive if he was lucky, but if the poison was too strong, he deserved to die. The smoke was inhaled into his lungs, and Shishkin felt that he was having difficulty breathing, as if someone was pinching his neck and he could no longer breathe to take in oxygen. This is a poison for the respiratory tract. After being inhaled into the human body, it only takes 1 minute to burn the mucous membrane of the respiratory tract, and the poisoned person will soon fall into a coma due to lack of oxygen. Shishkin saw that everyone else had taken the antidote and had no discomfort. He covered his neck with difficulty and screamed from his throat, "Save me, save me." After Nan Yan pushed him away, he rushed towards Chapman like lightning. Chapman was surprised that this group of people could actually cure the poison of their 7 deadly sins. These people were in the same group as the 2 he had captured. But who are they? Severe torture, all kinds of torture were used on those 2 people, but no useful information was obtained. To be honest, he admired those 2 people a little. At least, he couldn't bear the torture, so he either committed suicide or gave up resistance and confessed. But these 2 people never said a word about their identities from beginning to end, and they were even unwilling to reveal why they sneaked into the headquarters of the 7 deadly sins.